Women's access to abortion continues to be debated around the globe. Latin America especially is home to some of the most restrictive abortion laws in the world. While some Latin American countries have taken action under heavy pressure from women's rights activists, like Mexico in 2021, where their Supreme Court issued a historic decision that decriminalized abortion, or in Colombia, where the country's top court decriminalized abortion in 2022, making it the third major Latin American nation to allow access to the procedure, or Argentina in 2020, where it became the largest nation in Latin America to legalize abortion. In other parts of Latin America, developments are less encouraging. What is going on, everyone? This is the Leo podcast, where we talk about various educational topics, especially those impacting the Latin American community. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about a bill that is expected to be signed into law by Guatemala's conservative president within weeks. And if passed, it could impose the harshest punishments for abortion of almost any country in Latin America. I'm your host, Kevin Munoz. This is today's free episode. If you want early access to episodes and bonus episodes, you can find that right now on our patreon.com/LatinaamericaNeo. And if not, then enjoy this one. According to a New York Times article last Tuesday, on International Women's Day, Guatemalan lawmakers passed a new bill mandating up to 10 years of jail time for women who obtain abortions, explicitly banning same-sex marriage and preventing schools from teaching about sexual diversity. Under the measure, schools would not be allowed to teach that gay or lesbian sex is normal or discuss LGBTQ issues with children and teenagers. The bill even explicitly codifies marriage as being between a man and a woman. If this bill, as expected, becomes law, Guatemala would have among the most severe penalties for women who seek abortions in the region, even when compared to its conservative neighbors. Take Honduras as an example. Last year, Honduras approved an amendment that would make it all but impossible to repeal articles of the Constitution that prohibit abortion and make same-sex marriage illegal. In El Salvador, abortion is illegal under all circumstances, including rape. Gay marriage is forbidden, and there is no legal gender recognition for trans people. Even then, Honduras and El Salvador offer limited protection for LGBTQ people, including laws that punish hate crimes on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. While according to Mr. Gonzalez, a Human Rights Watch researcher, Guatemala has none. Human rights groups warned that the measure would most likely spur more women to seek abortion in unsafe settings, driving up maternal deaths. It was even greeted with mixed reactions from anti-abortion activists in Guatemala, saying that while their group supported harsher penalties for abortion providers, increasing penalties for women who undergo the procedure made less sense. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. You're listening to the Leo Podcast. I'm Kevin Munoz. Support for today's episode comes from my Patreons. If you enjoy the show and are looking for bonus content and to further support the show, then head on over to patreon.com/LatinaamericaNeo or visit my website, LatinaamericaNeo.org, to join the growing Leo Podcast community. Because the learning doesn't stop with this episode. There's also some sick merch on my website, everything from shirts, coffee mugs, and tote bags. All info will be at the bottom in the show notes. Now let's get back to today's episode. Guatemala allows abortion only to save the life of the mother, but with this new bill, it would even add restrictions in those cases too. The bill imposes a sentence of up to 12 years for the doctors who perform the procedure, and the doctors that would provide an abortion to women at risk of death will now have to get another physician to agree that the procedure is necessary. This is a significant hurdle because Guatemala is already a country where there aren't many medical professionals to begin with. According to analysts, the reason as to why President Alejandro Giammattei is leaning even further to the right on abortion could partly be a play to shore up political challenges at home and the rising tensions in his relationship with the United States. Mr. Giammattei for those who aren't aware, is deeply unpopular in Guatemala. This is largely due to losing a lot of trust from the public due to high-profile corruption investigations that have been within his inner circle. It was only last year when prosecutors opened an inquiry into allegations that the Guatemalan president accepted bribes from the Russian businessman in exchange for access to a key port. His attorney general has also continued to undermine the nation's judiciary by detaining former prosecutors and targeting a judge handling the nation's most sensitive corruption cases. According to analysts, this bill is him reaching out and trying to amplify his base when he is increasingly weak and isolated and increasingly in confrontation with the Biden administration. Mr. Giammattei even went as far as participating in a ceremony declaring Guatemala the pro-life capital of Latin America, while also joined by representatives of the Family Research Council, a prominent evangelical group based in Washington. That's all for today on the Leo Podcast. I'm Kevin Munoz, and for those of you on Patreon, as always, I'll see you in the bonus episodes. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next episode, and feel free to send me a message with your thoughts or with any interesting topic that you'd like to see covered. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please share it with a family or a friend and rate it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps tremendously in order to bring more awareness and educational resources to our community. For more information and to stay up to date with what I'm doing, you can follow me on Instagram at LatinaMericaneo. And if you need more information and resources, you can visit my website, latinamericaneo.org. I'm Kevin Munoz. This has been the Leo Podcast, and I'll see you next time. This podcast is not investment advice. I am not a qualified licensed investment advisor. All information on here, including any ideas, opinions, views, predictions, forecasts, commentaries, suggestions, or stock picks expressed or implied, are for informational, entertainment, or educational purposes only and should not be construed as personal investment advice. Conduct your own due diligence or consult a licensed financial advisor or broker before making any and all investment decisions. Any investments, trades, speculations, or decisions made on the basis of any information found on this podcast, expressed or implied, are committed at your own risk, financial or otherwise.